Open. Open it now.
No, don't open.
Open it.
No.
Now open.
Come on, look at it. Yeah.
Please, I have nothing, please. Please, I have nothing. Please. I'm sorry, please. Help, please. Help, please. Get your hands up!
On the ground!
On the ground!
On the ground!
All the way down!
The hands, it's over. We're coming back.
Okay. Sometimes justice is swift. And in this case, justice was handed out by the dumb criminal themselves. Hey, folks, welcome to the program. Thank you for being here. Do me a finger. Please, use your finger and share this program. Right? Share this program. Rumble it right now. We're going to be talking about what's going on in Georgia and other things. And are we about to get some election justice? Well, we're going to debate that. We're going to talk about it. Today's program, by the way, is brought to you by the fine folks at Gold Co. Yep, at Gold Co. Here's what I'm asking you to do. I'm just asking you to go to jovanlovesgold.com. I want you to request your free gold and silver kit today because now is the time to protect your money with gold and silver. And by the way, if you had been paying attention all this time, I started telling you this, that you've got to worry about your IRA, your 401k, etc. When gold was less than $1,500 an ounce, and by the way, it's over $5,000. This is not about investing in gold and silver. I want to set that out to you right now. This is more about, I need you to know how gold and silver can protect your retirement. That's the main thing, because in fact, if you wanted to get into your retirement account right now, say we're hitting this horrible ice storm, your roof caved in or something, and you tried to get money from it, these rat bastards are unfortunately probably going to try to ding you 50%, and it's your money you've been paying in for years. This is a workaround, right? This is a workaround, and you have to understand how this works. Please go to jovanlovesgold.com and request the free information. Okay, now, like I said, we're going to be talking about Georgia. You might have been watching the news. You might have been seeing an FBI raid going on in Georgia. Yes. It's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting how all this comes out. The day before yesterday, part when I was not here, I was actually in Georgia for part of that time. It's going to be interesting how this specifically plays out. But is it like anything else? Is it just going to be a political hand job? Little GOP fellatio? I don't know. But that's what we're going to talk about. Do me a favor, will you please? Share this program right now. We're going to get started in a few minutes. but this is something you need to stay abreast of and be aware of. We'll be right back right after this.
Extra, extra! Trump deported a U.S. citizen who didn't even break the law.
No way! Really?
Yeah. Okay, but did that really happen?
Well, technically, he was an undocumented U.S. citizen, and he did break the law, but only in the sense that arson is still illegal. Technically.
Technically.
Well, I'm already feeling emotions, so none of those distinctions matter.
What? The story was a complete lie. A lie? Because of some technicality?
Technicality.
How about this? Trump deported a community organizer even though they were born here and never broke the law. Just because they were Hispanic.
Oh my gosh, I'm so emotional about that.
And when you say he was born here...
The world. He was born in this world. Human like the rest of us. Technically.
Tech in Italy. And he wasn't in a gang?
Oh, I get it. When white people do it, it's community organizing, but when a Venezuelan does it, he's in MS-13, technically.
Technically.
Yeah, seriously.
You've got to be kidding me.
Oh, you just want to blow that off? Well, how's this, you monster? Trump deported an aspiring nuclear physicist whose family had been here since the Mayflower, simply because he got a tan last summer and looked a little brown.
I feel I need to ask for clarity.
Clarity? I think it's clear you're going to hell.
By here since the Mayflower, do you mean he's of Aztec descent? Technically.
He was also technically.
Chechnya. A child trafficker. We're done here.
Just another uninformed voter with his fake news.
Thank you for watching.
Warning. The following program has been rated Gilligaff and is intended for open-minded audiences. If the truth offends you, or if you are allergic to focused intensity, intellectual athleticism, or the occasional F-bomb or even irreverent humor, please switch off now. If your delicate sensibilities need to be worried about or addressed, might we recommend the Underwater Basket Weaving channel to you. Otherwise, sit back, enjoy the wisdom, insight, and wicked sense of humor.
Cut the crap. How many times a day do you want to say that to politicians, the elite, the loony liberals, the fake news media, and the gender-confused, emotional socialist snowflake crowd? Cut the crap is your secret weapon for fighting for our freedoms and our great republic. It all begins with a massive mental enema, freeing you from the toxic news and politically correct views, which constipate your consciousness with stinking thinking. Your host, Jovan Hutton Pulitzer. He's known for calling out politicians and telling them to cut the crap. You've seen him on virtually every television network and listened to him on Coast to Coast Radio. And now he's here to help you learn to fight for America. Culture, race, and American politics. They all have one thing in common. They all need to cut the crap. Now, here's your host, Jovan Hutton Pulitzer.
Okay, folks, maybe you heard about a raid in Georgia. Maybe even think it's about election integrity. Who knows? One, I was just there. And then, of course, I was down Mar-a-Lago way for several days. By the way, I saw somebody on YouTube from Port St. Lucie. I was right there at your doorstep. I wish I would have known you were there. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to take a look at what has actually transpired in Georgia in regards to the ballots that may or may not be finally able to be inspected. To give you a little bit of the backstory, we were ready to do a full forensic audit of a large group of ballots in Georgia. We were going to duplicate exactly what my team was doing in Maricopa County, Arizona. It had come down to we had already were gathering the equipment, gathering the volunteers and doing interviews. And there was this raging debate going on with the county, who kept on throwing roadblocks at us. This is how it works. So yes, they're going to turn over the ballots. And then they say, well, you have to inspect it at our facility. And of course, when you think about forensics, there's a lot of equipment involved, right? And et cetera. By the way, hey, just make sure you watch at the close of the program for a link for locals. I'm going to hop over to locals. I'm going to share some information with you there, particular to everybody who follows me on locals. So make sure you do that at jovanhuttonpulitzer.locals.com. Watch for the link. I'll jump over it. Anyway, and so we're getting ready to do this, and the county is playing like they're going to cooperate. Literally the first time they show us where they say the ballots are, it is literally a closet. Yeah, a closet. That's the first roadblock they threw at us. And of course, you couldn't even unpack the ballots in this closet. And they said we had to do the whole operation there. And then they tried to throw, well, it's got to be county employees that touch the ballot. Well, we've got to run all the equipment and gear you need for the forensics. They did finally capitulate a bit and agreed to upgrade. And they gave us a 10-foot by 10-foot room to fit 100 people in. So it was all about avoiding it. During that time, I am testifying in the Georgia courts there regarding the ballots. And frankly, just telling you right up front, I was running my own misinformation campaign on the county. Let me explain why. Back then in Georgia, you could not get the cast vote records. You couldn't get a hold of them. The cast vote records are the digital versions of the ballots going in. Technically, what happens to them in between, then the ballots coming out, and how the ballots are recorded to the file. We're not talking necessarily what's called the election management system. It's actually what the machines see. The game I was playing as a forensic auditor was I am telling the powers that be, the judge, and signaling to the rat bastard rhinos, because that's all there was, and the Dems. I do not want to be forced to look at the cast vote records. Now, there's a tremendous amount of information you can discover from cast vote records, but I'm holding to my guns. I do not want to be forced to look at the cast vote records because they're no good. The powers that be were saying, well, yeah, they're 300 DPI, so they're an equivalent. What they don't tell you is it's actually 4 pages. You have to take, and if you combine them together, you get about 300 DPI. Not they are at 300 DPI. It's all smoke and mirrors. And so it's about the quality of the 1980s introduction IEEE fax standard. Remember when fax machines came out and it was the thermal paper crap? Well, that's the quality of these things. You can't tell folds. You can't tell if a human voted them, but you can see and tell some things. Now I knew at that time I could detect certain things. So I'm playing this game, telling them, no, I don't want them. No, I don't want them. No, I don't want them. We got to have the actual ballots, because that's where the holy grail of the information is the ballots. So the judge basically asked me to take a look at the cast vote records and confirm, in fact, that these are not of a quality that we can do forensics on. Now, this is very important to what you're going to see today, okay? I'm giving you all the backstory most people never heard. We were on the ground for a long time. We got shot at while we were there. Before that, just junk on top of junk on top of junk. In the very warehouse where the raid is, literally, we've got people watching it 24/7. And I'm going to share with you in this program some of the tidbits you probably never heard, right? You probably never heard. But anyway, so the judge authorizes me, and the state provides to me a fob through the litigant. And I look at them and I cross-confirm the quality of the ballots. And I prepare for the judge, because we're in the middle of COVID, a video testimony, which is, by the way, is online. You can find it. A lot of people have it. And I testified, here is the quality of these ballots. And they intentionally neuter them in what's called the Kodak 265 grayscale. Most people don't know this, but there's 265 different shades of black. And you thought it was just shades of gray. Anyway, so I explained to them how this is a manipulative tactic, so you can't really tell inequality. And they claim, oh, we have to do it because of size, blah, blah, blah. So I testified to the judge. Now, I have this fob. It has been passed to me. What I did not know, which wasn't shared with me, is the litigant gave a duplicate copy to Garland Favorito for safekeeping there at Voter GA. It's not Garland's case. It's other people's case. Garland kind of somehow became the front man. Unbeknownst to me, Garland gave that fob to his guy in Georgia, a fellow by the name of David Cross, who then took that drive of these ballots and did something we knew on the inside had already occurred, but we're playing our cards very, very, very close to the vest. So we had no idea that Garland had passed off this fob to someone, which should not have occurred. Cast vote records were not available at that time. Well, what happened is this fellow, David Cross, who, by the way, rode this to a position in the Fulton County party, right? Rode it to a position of leadership. And then when people started to find out he wasn't really qualified to do it and what he had done to them, he basically recently said they stole the vice chairmanship from him. So this guy rode it to a position. Well, here's what happened. What we already knew we could do through basically computer vision is we could look at the ballots very quickly and assess a program to see, had the ballots been duplicated? In other words, had they run the same ballots in and out? That's where you stop looking at it like a ballot and you look at it kind of like a QR code, my specialty. Wherever the dots are, somebody filled in and everything else, it makes its own image, and you start looking for that image reproduction. So the judge has granted that we're going to look at these ballots. The judge has 100% accepted my truthful and authentic testimony that the cast vote records are neutered, and I cannot do my forensic work based solely on the cast vote records. Well, about that time, this breaking story comes out. And damned if it isn't this guy, David Cross, saying, look at we found in Georgia. They ran extra ballots. They reran them. Well, see, my team had already been embedded in this and getting things done. We knew this is how they would do it. So this guy decides to make his name in social media. Look at what I found. About that same time, various podcasters that popped up in conservative circles, from lumberjacks to stay-at-home dads or whatever, that are now doing political commentary, they decide to run with this story. Found duplicated ballots, they reran the batches. And I see it come across the airwaves. And I'm sitting back here on the legal side of it, dealing with the courts, preparing for a full forensic audit, knowing the judge has now said he's going to give us the paper ballots. Boom, the story goes. Somebody decides, David Cross, decides to make his name off of it. I watch this roll out. Because I'm the auditor going to audit it and do the forensic. So I like you, learn when it hits social media. And I'm like going, Holy shit. So I pick up the phone. One of these days I'll release the recording because I have it recorded. And I get all of the people on the line, Lumberjack, maybe it was CanCon, maybe a few of these others. And I get them on the line and I said, guys, you must immediately pull down this interview. This is something that should have never been talked about in public, should have never been revealed. And we already know we've got them legally. We've got them. We've nailed their ass. Maybe 2 or 3 of them pulled down their interviews. And the one other kid, I think his name was Nick Modick or something like that, basically said, you're just trying to get the story by yourself. You're just trying to be the journalist who breaks the story. And I said, he's a kid. I said, you got to get your fucking head straight. I'm the auditor. And what you just did is you fucked all of Georgia. And conversely, you fucked the entire country. Because here's why. We know we're doing Arizona, and we're about to show the exact duplicate occurred, right? The exact duplicate occurred in Georgia. It is a legal slam dunk to show widespread collusion, pre-planning, conspiracy, and racketeering. This kid wouldn't budge, and they ran with the story. I call up Mr. Cross. He bitches and moans, kind of does the same thing. I track it down. I literally track down the kid who wrote the visual identification program for David Cross. He didn't do it. And in order to get that kid to be quiet about it and to shut it down, our company bought the software he used, bought all the code, and shut it down. Because I said, this is for court proceedings. We are literally 2 weeks away from beginning a full forensic audit of the ballots that will prove this has all been rigged in game. Once that story broke, thanks to David Cross and Garland Favorito, hundreds of attorneys descended on Georgia, suing and threatening the judge. So behind the scenes, now the judge is being threatened. And we had it in the bag. I mean, we had it nailed. I say, in my opinion, the judge got cold feet and he reversed it. Now we're not going to get these paper ballots. Now, if you're brand new to my program, I'm going to explain why this is important. If you show it in a cast vote record, if you show it in any of the digital data, it's a misdemeanor because they can claim, uh-oh, that was a glitch in a computer. We didn't know it. It's $1,000 fine maximum, whether you did 1 or whether you did 1 million. Right? And the judge, with tremendous pressure, backed out. Why? Now, if the 140,000 ballots we're talking about, and I'm rounding, in Georgia, which we knew what happened, each ballot manipulated and modified is a felony, a federal crime and a state crime with a 20-year sentence. Each one, meaning it's compounding. You get it? Do the math. Even if it was 1 year per offense, we're talking about a 140-year prison sentence for multiple people. Yes, I'm letting my anger get through, but you need to understand. I want you to understand. So in one fell swoop, all of these people trying to make a name for themselves online because they believe it's a contest. They believe it's a popularity contest, and they're patriots and whatever, and everybody's a brand new broadcaster, and they're going for views and clicks. While I'm going for convictions, they're going for views and clicks. Everything cratered. everything. Everything, 100% gone. Now, here we sit 5 years later. Personally, I would be incredibly surprised if the actual ballots we need to see still exist. Regardless of what happened in Georgia with the raid, I would be surprised if they still exist. Now, Georgia and its walk-in places have BMDs, ballot marking devices. Basically, your ballot is on the machine. You click the little radio dial of who you want to vote for. It asks you to check it. You hit submit, it submits it, and it prints you a ballot receipt. So in Georgia, the propensity is not physical ballots. So you can imagine that these existing physical ballots are the Holy Grail. It's what we have to see. Well, all of it got shut down. It went back and forth in courts and fighting and everything else. And I have said, I would be very surprised if these physical ballots exist. I'd be very surprised. Now, the lawsuit and the court order is very narrow. It's a specific band of ballots, which are the ones we need to see. If they're intact, they would be 150 boxes. Okay? 150 boxes. No matter how many times I queried the litigants and or Gawler and Favorito, whatever, can you confirm these ballots have been sequestered? Can you confirm these are 100% safe? Nobody could confirm that they were protected, although they say, well, the county says there is. Well, I think so. Nobody could produce a bona fide order that they were sequestered. Nobody could produce a location. That shows you the dangers of amateurs doing this. And what they're doing is trying to make a name for themselves, trying to become famous, just like David Cross did in Georgia. And he wrote it to an elected official seat. The very person that absolutely made sure these ballots wouldn't be looked at, when none of this should have been talked about, ever. It should have been kept quiet. We'd have nailed this rat bastard to the wall. We had it done. See, this was well before they understood, meaning the system, what we could really do with kinematics and prove. So everything shut down. I'm going to give you the net effect time in this time window so you understand what we may end up seeing. Bear with me. You need to understand the subtle differences, and then we're going to analyze what's going on, okay? I'm going to go back to Maricopa. Maricopa supposedly had 2.1 million ballots executed. 85% of them roughly mail-in ballots. That means they're printed on a machine, that's color, they're mechanically folded in an exact place, and we can detect the nature of the ballot. Now, every one of those categories, every single one of those categories in Maricopa failed. You have to understand, for me, it was never about who won the election. And certainly, I don't care about the freaking machines. Why would I waste my time on a machine when all the rules are voluntary? There's no enforcement. What America needs is enforcement. But if you look at the nature of the paper, you can understand what really happened. Let me give an example. Just look at line 1, District 1. This is Maricopa. They should have had 84.13% folded ballots. Well, they didn't. They only had 76.24%. If you look at hand folded, that's where you walk in, they print a ballot in Maricopa. You mark it, you hand fold it, which we can detect, and you put it in a box. They should have had only 7.5%. 9.53%, but they way exceeded it with 9.64. And then when you look at election day, they should have had 8.34%, but they ended up having 12.42%. When you do the numbers, you found out what they should have had in mailed, they made up in hand fold or no fold. That's the backfilling. And there is no debate about the status of the paper. It is what it fucking is. There's no debate. It's not based on theory, and I don't need any 6-degree polynomials, and I don't have to infiltrate an antiphacol to know the status of the paper. There it is in black and white. What you certified was wrong. What you claim and certified under perjury, here it is. You perjured yourself. It's all crap. Okay, so now you understand the physical nature of the ballot. Now, when you look at Maricopa, Maricopa had 1,675 boxes of ballots. Every one of those boxes are supposed to be sealed by law. They run a tape over it. They seal it shut. In a box is batches. Batches are typically 200. There should be about 8 batches in any one box. When we finally got the Maricopa stuff 5 months later, because they kept on hem-hawing, what we got was 52 boxes that were held by procedure and sealed in perfect, pristine condition. And then, of course, the 1,725 or whatever, 22 other boxes, unsealed, total disarray, total out of order, all kinds of ballots shoved in them. Now, when you do the audit and you look at the paper, we found an interesting thing about the 52. The 52 didn't have any of the errors that we found in the other, million plus ballots, 1,000,008 ballots. And then we find out those boxes were handpicked by the election officials the day of the election that said, if we get audited, look at these. Now, these boxes are all kinds of different numbers throughout the thing. And when it comes to an audit, they say, well, let's just pick a random few. They tell you it's random, but they know which boxes to pick. And that's the boxes they pick, and they were bang freaking on. Bang on. The other boxes is where the crap was. Now, why do I tell you that? Because when you understand that in Maricopa, what they did and how they did it, then you have an answer to the question of why 1 month after the election, already certified by the county, already certified by the state, already certified by the federal government, then they ran in 118,019 ballots. Why'd they do that? Because they knew we were coming. They knew at that time we're going to get these things. So they bought themselves time to now backfill. When you understand that, you now understand Maricopa was having to do it over 2 million ballots. In Georgia, we're talking, let's just call it 140,000 ballots. And they've had 5 years to clean up this mess with no supervision. If they're there. So that's all the texture background of what you need to understand about about Fulton County, Georgia. So what happened in Fulton County, Georgia is a raid was executed. By the way, let me do one little bit of housekeeping here. Do you remember, was it a program or two ago, I did a special called The Truth Is Not Pretty, Forensic Analysis of the Shooting and Laws and the Mayhem in Minnesota, and we were talking about this guy, Matthew Pretty. See him there? Train your eyes on him on the left. Matthew Pretty. Okay? Now, Matthew Pretty, just like George Floyd was a prototype. The government officials get people to break laws for them. First thing I want to show you is the left's assessment of Matthew Pretty.
Caring for people was at the core of who he was. He was incapable of causing harm. Alex carried patience, compassion, and calm as a steady light within him. Even at the very end, that light was there. I recognized his familiar stillness and signature calm composure.
He's a saint. Well, let me show you new footage of the saint. I'll show you the short footage first, and then that. Here's Matthew a week and a half before.
Look at you! Pepper spray, bitch!
Basically wearing the same thing. Listen. Is he a peaceful processor or observer?
Look at you! Pepper spray, bitch! Fucking assault me, motherfucker! Fucking fuck you guys! Fucking crap!
Fuck you guys, blah, blah, blah. I don't call that a peaceful ER nurse that just had a gentle, loving soul. Let me show you this little piece the British came in and found, and they've narrated it pretty well. You make your own decision of why I said the truth really wasn't pretty.
This is a moment the news movement filmed on January 13th in Minneapolis, showing a man who appears to be Alex Preddy interacting with federal immigration agents 11 days before Border Patrol shot and killed him. Our footage was analyzed by the BBC, whose facial recognition technology confirmed his identity to a 97% degree of accuracy. On the morning of January 13th, our team received a tip that federal agents were blocking a street at the corner of East 36 and Park Avenue in Minneapolis. We arrived around 10:15 a.m. We saw observers shouting at the agents as they walked back to their vehicles. When they started driving away, the man kicked their taillight. An agent then got out of the vehicle, grabbed him, and pushed him to the ground. During the altercation, agents fired tear gas and pepper balls into the crowd. They continued to hold the man down before they retreat and he walks away. The man in our footage is wearing a similar outfit to what Preddy was wearing on the day he was killed. What appears to be a gun is also visible above his waistband. Here, he continues to stand at the scene. On the day he was killed, the Department of Homeland Security claims Preddy, a 37-year-old ICU nurse, approached officers holding a handgun. That claim has been contradicted by analysis of bystander videos from multiple news investigations, which concluded that Preddy was holding a phone, not a gun, when he was pinned to the street.
Okay, so you're looking at the footage now. This is the Blessed Saint of Minneapolis. The agents missed the gun, but they were familiar with the guy who was violent. So I want you to understand, and that's why I did that one program, is this is how and why government officials get common citizens thinking they're doing good to commit crimes for them. In fact, in that one video, there was about 11 different crimes between federal and state crimes in Minneapolis crime statutes, which I went through in this one program. Just in that video, you can see. That's why I want you to understand we're under a mass manipulation from all angles, and this is how it works. Now, the reason I give this to you is because we're going to have to try to decide what are we really looking at and what will really happen as a result of this FBI raid in Georgia. That's the topic. Are we going to get 2020 election justice? Juan Pinard, thank you so very much for that generous tip on Rumble. God bless you. Thank you for supporting our work. I want to show you a few things just quickly. I know you know it, but I want to show you a few things quickly of how far our system has fallen. Here is a fellow running for the top enforcement official, AG, for the state of Ohio. This is how much The system has enabled criminal activity. Watch this guy explain himself. Running for AG in Ohio.
Hi, this is Elliot Forehand, candidate for Ohio Attorney General. I want to tell you what I mean when I say that I am going to kill Donald Trump. I mean, I'm going to obtain a conviction rendered by a jury of his peers at a standard of proof beyond a reasonable doubt, based on evidence presented at a trial conducted in accordance with the requirements of due process, resulting in a sentence duly executed of capital punishment. That is what I mean when I say that I'm going to kill Donald Trump.
He had to make that video because he put out a campaign thing. He did a while back when he had a lot of posts, fuck Charlie Kirk. Anyway, this is the type of people they are raising up in politics. This is going on all over the place. We know we have rat bastards. And by the way, you saw Ilhan Omar. Did you see her little stunt making it look like she was attacked? And now it's all coming out. She was friends with the guy. It was actually staged. Somebody comes spraying something on her. Did you see that? Put it in chat. Here's a different angle of that spraying. She got sprayed with some unknown subject. Here's a different angle of it.
Well, apparently a priest has sprinkled Representative Ilhan Omar with a little bit of holy water. And I mean, that bitch just took off like she just got caught in a daycare scam.
Daniel, God bless you for that tip on Rumble. God bless you. It all goes to election integrity and everything we do. God bless you for supporting our work, our team, and our program. Okay, so we're going to go to Georgia. My bridge between the two is the truth ain't pretty and the pretty lie. Let me show you a Georgia high school, what they did, a Georgia high school where we're about to go in response to the ICE stuff in Minneapolis. That's a Georgia high school, staging a walkout, fuck ICE, fuck MIGRA, blah, 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 blah. Oh, by the way, it's one of their exemplary high schools in Georgia. You saw all those thousands and thousands of high school students walk out. This school has exactly a 20% efficiency standard in reading. Yeah, only 1 out of 5 of their students that are there or graduate from there can read, which is what the government wants. Here's the story coming out of Georgia.
FBI agents are on site at a Fulton County election office in Georgia, where they are conducting a search. David Spunt's got more details for us on this developing story. David?
Hi, Sandra. This is a satellite office for the Fulton County Elections Office. The FBI Atlanta press office confirming this, not giving many details, saying that the FBI is executing a court-authorized law enforcement action. No other details at this time, but we do know via sources a judge signed off on this warrant, allowing these agents, as you see them, enter this building to take items from the inside. Now, we're told that this is a sealed matter before the court, meaning details are now limited. Now, agents are looking at documents, phones, computers. We are told via multiple sources this is related to the 2020 presidential election. Now, we don't know specifically what agents are taking to the FBI lab, items that may eventually become part of a federal case. You may remember President Trump was charged in Fulton County with trying to overturn the 2020 election results. That's Brad Raffensperger right there. He is the Secretary of State of Georgia. That is the Fulton County District Attorney, Fani Willis. Now, Raffensperger spoke to President Trump back in early 2021, and Trump said that he wanted to find some 11,000 votes to help win the election. Raffensperger said that he felt pressure from Trump. Willis then took Donald Trump to trial. That didn't happen. In 2023, she said that her prosecution was all buttoned up, ready to go, but it was completely derailed after it was revealed she had an intimate relationship with the top prosecutor on her team, and it could have tainted the case. Late last year, a judge dismissed the case in its entirety. It's important to point out, Sandra, that a judge typically would not just sign off on a warrant so the FBI could go on what's known as a fishing expedition. It's likely the FBI and DOJ presented some credible evidence to the judge for the judge to go ahead and give the green light. No immediate comment from the Justice Department. Again, the FBI confirming this court-authorized search warrant. We are waiting to see if perhaps Director Kash Patel, Attorney General Pam Bondi, or even Secretary Raffensperger, or perhaps Governor Brian Kemp have anything to say.
Okay, to remind you, once I testified in Georgia in front of the Senate, I was called in to testify about could we figure out what went wrong. Raffensperger, they dedicated, it's still there, I think, a full web page to me, calling me a failed treasure hunter. All it was a hit piece. I am the only person in the United States of America that actually has my own page dedicated to little old me on a state's government website. Simply because my testimony there and showing facts went viral, 100 million some odd views. Of course, they scrubbed it all as fast as they could and started threatening me. A little bit about Fanny, otherwise known as Gorilla Grip, her boyfriend, Nathan Wade, which is the lover she was doing the gorilla gripping with. He literally, hang on, thank you. Crystal, I can count on you, sweetheart. Okay, hang on one second. Let me share something with you. Share screen here, here, here. There it is. I have my own fact check site on the Georgia Secretary of State site. Fact check. Georgia Senate masquerades failed treasure hunter as hacker and election security expert. Here it is. Right? Now, what's interesting is this hack job, I kind of knew it would eventually, I knew every word of that article before it came out. Do you know how I knew every word of that article before it came out and I knew it would be used? Let me tell you why. I found out during that time that these bad rhinos and stuff had already infiltrated me. As soon as I went viral in November of 2020, showing its the folds, and it just hit the storm, I get a call from an attorney who's very well known saying, let me help you put together your affidavits, blah, 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 blah. So I think no harm, no foul. All I wanted to do was put together my court piece evidence that could be submitted for cases. So I said, fine. So during this time we're talking about, I am on the ground in Georgia. I know something's about to happen in this Warthog, Arnoff, whatever crap those guys were named because they had to have a Senate runoff. We found literally 1 million extra ballots ready to go. One of the people I'm working with went into the warehouse you're about to see, the very warehouse you're about to see, knew all these extra ballots were there, ordered a bunch of pizza, and played like they were a pizza delivery person and walked into the super secret special room in the warehouse. The people in the warehouse, and this is the stuff the GOP, and I'm telling you stuff many times, many of you have never heard it, the GOP did not deal with, did not let out. We had 24-hour surveillance on these buildings. I am talking to some of the highest DOJ people at the time. I noticed a few things about the warehouse I'm saying, hey, a lot of these people are Nigerian. They're not even American nationals. And I'm saying this is a shitload of rental cars. So I run up the flagpole. I said, guys, I need the cell phone telemetry, S2G. Thank you so very much for that generous tip on Rumble. God bless you. It all goes to our work in election integrity. And yes, I'm giving you a lot of background in this that maybe many of you have never heard. So I'm talking to the Department of Justice, and I said, here's what I need. I need the cell phone data surrounding these buildings. And they go, why do you need the cell phone data? I said, these are foreign nationals. There's a lot of rental cars. I said, if we can get the cell phone data, what I want is the burner phones, because I realized all these son of a bitches had burner phones. They had regular phones and they had burner phones. I said, get me the cell phone telemetry, kind of like this is way before 2000 Mules, because I want to find the burner phones, and then we're going to ping them across the city. We're going to find out what hotels they're putting them up in, and we're going to find what rental car agency there is. And they said, why do you want that? And I said, because somebody fucking paid for it with a credit card. And we will find out who paid for it. At the same time, I've got teams on the ground filming because we find this odd house. We get a call from somebody and they're burning all kinds of stuff. And it's these weird people. And I could swear it looks like ballots. So we put a crew on the ground. We get video. And sure enough, at this residential neighborhood, there's a very large home. And in the backyard, they have burn barrels. And they are burning all kinds of Dominion documents. They're burning what looks at ballots. Now, we can only get so close and we're filming. So we know something nefarious is going on. The house, which was used as a rental house, is owned by one of the elected officials there in Georgia. The people in the house were a large group of the contract election workers. We run this up the thing. Nothing. Next, we get documentation, and you probably remember this. It's New Year's Eve, 2020. I've just testified. I get a phone call, and the phone call actually comes from General Flynn and says, we have heard, and by the way, I've never told you the call came from General Flynn. I'm now telling you the call came from General Flynn. And it's a shredding company. Now, there was already the big fiasco with election and all these ballots being shredded. It caused a huge uproar for Fulton County. And so all the shredding company says, we're not doing anything. We're not doing anything related to elections or Dominion. And the only reason I tell you Dominion is because that's the folks that were involved. I'm not talking about the machines. I'm talking about paper. I'm not talking about the machines. I'm talking about paper. I give a rat's ass about the machines. Anyway, so we get this call, and a ballot company, a shredder company, had been called to a site to do an immediate emergency shred. And they ordered a very particular type of shred. You can have chop, chop, chop. You can have strips. This one wanted it stripped and then cross-cut and then rolled up into balls, which the machine will do. It'll cut it like confetti, and then it shifts around and it rolls them into spitballs. And they said it was an emergency order. They, just were clearing out a warehouse and needed it. So this shredding company shows up. Now, the shredding company relays to us. Here's why I'm calling. They told me they were Dominion Trucking Company. When we get there and we're shredding and we're taking the credit card to get payment, the credit card says Dominion Voting Systems. He said, so my guy stopped the shredder. He'd already been through a lot of it. He said he stopped the shredder. And this guy, good American, said, I think this has to do with the election. It worries me. I don't want any part of this. So I get the call in Georgia. We're staying at a friend of mine's house. There's 6 or 7 master suites. We all, for security reasons. The attorney who had infiltrated me was supposed to stay there. When this call came in and he heard what I was about to do, he split. And we didn't see him for 2 days. He was just gone, which tells you a lot. So what we did is I told General Finn, look, I got people on the ground. I had about 10 people on the ground. We organized a safe location and we organized a team to go pick up the truck. The shredding company offered us the truck. Pick this up. Get out of it what you need. They surrendered voluntarily the truck to us. What we initially find in the truck is we find all kinds of receipts, pretty incriminating stuff. But we also found invoices for overprinting, but the invoices was from China. So one of the people on the ground called in a special agent that has to do with trafficking from foreign countries, a friendly. The friendly looks at it, does the decoding for us. And what we're looking at is just a ton of documents. Some look like it might have been ballots, tons of invoices that couldn't be explained. Why were so many ordered? Like, why did Fulton County, Georgia, order immediate registration packets to do voter registration for Fulton County, but they ordered more for Fulton County than all the voters in the entire state of Georgia combined? So now what I'm doing is I'm running an investigation to do this. This is where I've got forensic people involved. We're looking at the ovals. I've got one of the ballots from the truck up north. Remember the printing company that mysteriously went up in flames? I have some of the evidence from that, and we're doing forensics on those ballots that could be saved to look at them to understand where they come from. I've never disclosed that before. And so all of this is kind of going on at once. And we're trying to find all this out. And we discover a website by the Democrats saying you need to confirm your vote. You need to confirm if you're registered. Now, I want you to remember, the election just went on. Now, this is a special election, which means it's a second election. The Dems ran an operation saying we need to confirm your vote. We don't know if they're recording your vote. Now, here's how that website went. You go to the website, you put in your full name, you put in your address, you must send a copy of your driver's license attached to the submission, and you must sign your signature, take a snapshot of it, and send it to By the way, those are all the pieces you need to create a fake vote. We submitted to it. Never anything from the GOP, from the Dems. What they did is they did this massive operation of ingesting people's numbers in under a scare tactic. They knew the voters, they knew their names, they knew their voter ID numbers, they knew their addresses, had a driver's license, and had a signature that was turned over to them. And then nothing ever heard. Now, why do I tell you that? Obviously, if you're going to manufacture votes in this runoff, you need that stuff. Okay? So all of this is kind of coming to a head. This was long before I really started talking to you guys. And I'm told that the White House, Homeland Security needs a debrief of everything we found. But it came with a hook. And the hook that it came with is that, ready? Mark Meadows was going to listen into the call. So we do this debrief. We give them the whole sit rep of everything going on the ground, everything we found. 6 hours later, SSAs, which is the supervisory agents of the FBI, show up, tell us all to back off, tell us they're taking control of that truck of evidence, make everybody leave the perimeter. We even have police protection on this. We had the police involved. They have a protective convoy. They take that shredder truck and evidence. They immediately drive it to an incineration location, empty it, and incinerate every bit of it, and threatened us, don't follow, don't record, don't whatever. Now you have some backstory of what we're dealing with in Georgia. Another piece of the backstory you need to understand about Gorilla Grip Fannie Willis and Nathan Wade, when they started really threatening suits and they started suing everybody, I get a panic call from my son. Nathan Wade, which I have this recorded too. Nathan Wade, even though I'm very reachable, people on Twitter and everywhere, you know that you can reach me. I look at it. I look at everything. I'll answer you. I'm reachable. Nathan Wade called my son, my daughter, my ex-wife, and 2 stepchildren, basically telling them I was under investigation by the government for this election stuff and making threats to them, not to me, to them. When I get word, he never called me, never emailed me, never reached out. My number's never changed. My email's the same. I'm very reachable. I call Mr. Wade and I get him on the phone. Send him an email, said I'm going to call. I get Mr. Wade on the phone and I said, I understand you're trying to reach me. Why are you calling my children? And he says, well, we need you to come to Georgia. We're subpoenaing everybody. We need you to come to Georgia and testify and explain everything. And I'm already hearing from all kinds of people, everybody that was testifying, everybody that was really doing work, they called everybody. And he basically said, we need you to come down and you have to sit basically for a deposition, but you cannot bring an attorney or have representation. I'm going, well, number one, you can't do that. I said, I got a question for you. And I said it like this. What the fuck are you doing calling my children when you can call me? He said, there's no need to cuss. I said, let me say it again. What the fuck are you doing calling my children, threatening them and scaring them when you can call me? Well, I'm going to do this and I'm going to subpoena you, whatever, and this and this and this. And he went on this whole diatribe, and then he broke because I'm badgering the shit out of him. And he says, I don't have to ax you. I can make you come to Georgia. I said, let me get this right. What do? You're a prosecuting attorney and you can't even fucking speak English? Axe? You're gonna take out an axe. You're gonna hit me with an axe to make me come to Georgia because you don't have to axe. I said, can't you even fucking speak? Where'd you fucking go to school? Of course, this riles him. But I this. I said, tell you what, I'm authorized by the Fannie Willis, whatever. I said, great. Put her on the phone and let's talk about the laws you broke, calling my children, threatening them to create harassment when you could have called me. He hung up on me. I don't know if it's because I called him out on his legal bullshit or I called him out. You're going to ax me? You're threatening me? You're going to ax me? So what kind of fucking education do you have? You can't even speak English. And you're a prosecutor? Anyway, now you have a lot of the background that I went through. It traumatized my young son. Then you combine that shit when they tried to assassinate me and almost got me, almost killed me. Many of you know I barely made it. So you can imagine the havoc this wreaked on my family, only to have conservative, supposed daily podcasters threatening me. You didn't do an audit. You didn't do this. And all of those guys called my children and threatened them. So you're getting a lot of the backstory of all the shit that went on in Georgia. And there is still a lot I'm not telling you. I'll save that for when all this comes out. But that's how nasty it's been. That's how much deception on all sides has occurred. Because if you're going to get Donald Trump out, it's not a Democrat thing. You are a fucking fool if you think the GOP didn't have something to do with this. Here's a little bit more in Georgia.
I take it you assume that all of this information is going to be readily available, and if it's not, that's going to be an issue?
Steve, the best I know is that the documents are contained in about 700 boxes that have been held in the clerk of the courts area in this warehouse, and my understanding is they're completely unorganized and not inventoried well. We don't know where the documents are in those 700 boxes, and I have advised people over the last several months that we have no other choice but to recommend that all 700 boxes be removed and taken out of the hands of Fulton County so that we can look for the documents that we've been looking for years and have been unable to get Fulton County to provide or produce or even try to find. So we're looking for those tabulator tapes. We're looking for numbered voter list. We would like to know who is eligible to vote for the 2020 election. We're looking for documents to prove that the ballot boxes that they claimed produced thousands of votes were actually real ballot boxes. And the whole purpose of this is to look for areas of inconsistency and irregularities, so to understand what happened if it did happen, so it will not happen in future elections. That's the point of the state election board's investigation and participation in this.
Okay. Little point of reference. If in fact the ballots that we were supposed to do kinematic artifact detection on, do our full forensic work, just like we did in Arizona, exist, that should be about 100 boxes. Should be. Now, between the tape rolls, the poll books, paper, printing, or whatever, I couldn't really tell you what's in 700 boxes. Okay? Now, you know, anything on the machine falls under voluntary voting systems guidelines. Voluntary voting systems guidelines. Okay? Now, I need to give you a little bit more education. Sorry, this is running longer, but if you don't have time to learn this shit, no wonder we're deep in this shit. Georgia officially did several recounts, which you'll hear about in a minute. The first recount was done by the voting companies to try to analyze statistically, was the election run right? How many ballots did they look at? It's a county of 1 million plus people. How many ballots did they look at? $25. To confirm the midterm was right before that, how many did they look at? 250. It's all a fucking rig, folks. You can't tell anything by that. Then they did another recount. What was the other recount? Recount. They're going to recount well, they took the receipts from the machines, which, by the way, you found in the boxes. This at least got out that what it said on the card, the placard for the header for the batch, was wrong. But they took the receipts from the machines. They totaled up the receipts. They take a receipt. It works like this. You take a receipt. The machine said it ran 1,000 ballots. You pull those receipts. You look at the machine counter, says 1,000 ballots. You look at the receipts for the machines, you total them up, and they total 1,000. It's right. But does that have anything to do with the vote? No. Then the next thing they did is they run the paper ballots. Well, we're going to do a hand count. What's the definition of their hand count? They took the paper ballots. There should be, let's just say, 50,000 here. They put them in a paper counter like the little dollar. There's 50,000. It's perfect. Now, did anything in that have to do with the vote? Anything? No. Now, I'm going to replay you this interview from the war room. I want you to listen for what's not said, because I think it's a big indicator of what's going to happen. You know, I'll quiz you. What do we need in Georgia to confirm 100% what happened? Put it in chat. To confirm what happened in 2020 in Georgia, what do we need to happen? What do we need? Put it in chat. What do we need? You're right. We need the ballots. I'm going to replay this interview with the head of the commission there on War Room. Listen carefully.
I take it you assume that all of this information is going to be readily available, and if it's not, that's going to be an issue?
Steve, the best I know is that the documents are contained in about 700 boxes that have been held in the clerk of the courts area in this warehouse, and my understanding is they're completely unorganized and not inventoried well. We don't know where the documents are in those 700 boxes, and I have advised people over the last several months that we have no other choice but to recommend that all 700 boxes be removed and taken out of the hands of Fulton County so that we can look for the documents that we've been looking for years, and have been unable to get Fulton County to provide or produce or even try to find. So we're looking for those tabulator tapes. We're looking for numbered voter list. We would like to know who is eligible to vote for the 2020 election. We're looking for documents to prove that the ballot boxes that they claimed produced thousands of votes were actually real ballot boxes. And the whole purpose of this is to look for areas of inconsistency and irregularities. So to understand what happened, if it did happen, so it will not happen in future elections. That's the point of the state election board's investigation and participation in this.
So let me ask you a question. If you look at a tabulator roll, tabulator receipt, can you tell what happened? No. If you look at who voted, just a list of who voted, can you tell what happened? No. If you try to confirm, was a ballot box actually a legitimate ballot box, meaning outside drop-off, can you tell what happened? No. What's conspicuously missing from this interview? Did you catch it? Been talking about it for months? Been working on it for months? What's missing from this interview? Ballots. Physical ballots. Which is the only thing you can prosecute on. And the only thing that tells the story. And in case you didn't know how it works, you ready? The Election Assistance Commission has voluntary voting guidelines. If something's found wrong, there is no enforcement mechanism. If it goes and looks at the Help America Vote Act, okay, the Help America Vote Act, under the Help America Vote Act, if there are issues found in irregularities, number one, it has no enforcement action. There's no enforcement action. But they can lead to a recommendation by the Secretary of State saying, now I want to investigate this. Who's the Secretary of State? You see this circle jerk? You must listen to what's being said. You must understand how this works. I have sat in some of the highest fucking level systems of it, and people still don't understand we have federal elections and state elections. They occur as state elections with federal components, and you can't split the two. There are rules, and you have to work within those rules. So for me, the first thing I say in this, why did she never mention what all of this was about to begin with, the missing ballots? Because they're going to have the fucking tapes. How do you think they certified the election? They're going to have their records saying what the election was. Their records are bullshit. I don't want their records. Just show me the ballots and we'll know what happened. I don't need your word. I don't need their word. I don't need to fucking talk about the machines because it doesn't fucking matter. Just need the physical ballots. In fact, we don't need everything, just those that were for this one, period. You follow what I'm saying? Let's look inside the building.
Going inside of the election facility. Our photographer was able to go inside. He was let inside and allowed to be up and close. As you can see, this is interesting because one of the questions we did ask Larry was if agents were restricting his access or asking him to back up at all. And he said that so far they've been allowing reporters to get up close to the situation.
outside if you want to take a.
Okay, so now agents are asking them to back up.
Actually, you shouldn't even be in this area, but.
Hey, you know what? I don't have a key, so there you go.
Okay.
Okay, so agents are asking them to back up, saying our crew should not be in this area. So this is something we're going to continue to monitor. And as our photojournalist gathers more information and reporter Larry Sproul gathers more information, we're going to be able to hopefully get that information for you. Right now,
Now in Georgia, you have the FBI and you have the GBI. The GBI is the Georgia Bureau of Investigation, which is the FBI arm. I may have been remiss in telling you the GBI did its own investigation way back when, the Bureau, and found nothing wrong with the election. Now, you might have saw all those boxes in the background. Do not assume that is evidence for this. Here's why. There have been 3 elections since then. A special election, kind of a midterm, whatever it was, and then this new 2024 general election. So don't think you're looking back there and you're looking at that's the 2020 room. That does not exist. But here is what they're saying on the ground from the official standpoint.
Hi, everybody. Listen, I know you're watching the news. You're seeing a lot of stuff about this FBI raid at the Fulton County elections and registrations. I'm on the inside right now. So I just want you to be like real discerning about all that you're hearing from people who are on the outside of what's going on. I'm going to give you the truth about what's happening. So they served a warrant, the FBI, this is Trump, serving a warrant to go pick up the 2020 ballots, which are in a secure location inside of here, 700 boxes. The first warrant that they gave was incorrect legally, like they didn't follow the right procedure. They went back and they fixed it, and they came back and now they are actually collecting the boxes. They are in the chain of command in Fulton County is that once they are archived, they become the possession of the clerk of Superior Court, which is Shay Alexander. She is here and she is with them inventorying everything that they're taking. We, the commissioners, the chairman, the county attorney, are trying to figure out a legal plan as to maybe an injunction, a motion to quash. We don't know yet. We're trying to figure it out. We're getting all kinds of legal advice to stop this, because once they have the ballots, how do we then turn around and do something different when they've already got their hands on it? So this is an attempt to take your vote away. This is all about November 2026, about the primary on May 19th and then the November election. He does not want the midterm elections to take away his power. So he's trying to create chaos. So this is what he does. Chaos in Minnesota, chaos in Fulton County. We are a target. Protect your vote at all costs. I'm telling you, everybody always says your life depends on it. Oh, your life does depend on it this time.
Okay, let me decode something for you. What Sergeant Pepper is saying, well, she's dressed like it. What else is she? You understand this is to go in to get specifically 700 boxes related to the 2020 election. Now let me ask you a question. How does that cancel your 2024 or 2026 or 2028 vote? How does it take away your vote? Just a question. If they get a hold of 700 boxes, and there's ballots in there, let's just say this. How does that, for any voter in Fulton County, take away their vote? Now, maybe she's worrying about all the Lonely Heart illegals out there that are part of her merry band and Sergeant Pepperism voting. Well, yeah, it might take those people's voting away, which should never occur in the process. Fucking lot of dead people going to be pissed off. But who, from a legitimate voter standpoint, is going to lose their vote? By the way, what the fuck does Minneapolis have to do with this? Oh, that's right. It's a narrative. And they got to play the narrative over and over and over. Well, I don't know if you remember this, but in my testimony in Georgia, way back when, I told you then you're going to find out that the rig occurred in adjudication. Here's what adjudication means. There's extra marks on the ballot. It didn't read right. You scribbled on it. You wrote on it. We don't know what it says officially. Well, when it goes in, they know your vote. It holds it up here, called an adjudication. It holds it up here. It takes a human to pull those back down and say they're legit or not, but they know everything. Now, if you know everything here, you work underneath. If we were to go back to 2000, you're looking at batches of 200. The average adjudication per batch of 200 was 1. If you hop forward to the midterms, coming forward, the average adjudication was 2. If you hop forward to 2016, 2018, the average adjudication was about 4 ballots per 200. That means 1 out of every 50 ballots needed some form of human oversight or human intervention of your vote. Now, the rules used to be that if any machine started, because it's there, but it kicks it out saying, look at it, look at it. Pay attention to this point because I'm going to show you something of how they pulled this off. Pay attention. In the olden days, when it got 3 or over, they used to assume something was wrong with the scanner and they would replace it. They would assume the scanner was broken. Okay? Now, I called this out in Georgia first because I had, interestingly enough, the Georgia numbers before I had certain adjudications for the full forensic audit in Maricopa. And I called out the head of elections there, basically saying they had about 200,000 votes in, and they had to adjudicate 147,000 of them. I'm going, howdy do. That's like 1 out of 8. Now remember, 1 out of 50 was a major crisis backwards in time. Swap that damn machine out. And all of a sudden, I'm looking at something that looks like 1 out of 8, 1 out of 9, 1 out of 10. I call this out and I show them. Well, they pushed back on it and say, we just misspoke or whatever. Now let's go back to Maricopa. In Maricopa, the way adjudication works is everybody used to work in one room where the ballots were being processed and tabulated. When that ballot went into the machine, if the machine couldn't read it properly, it spit it out and said, hey, I need a human to look at it. Somebody would grab that physical ballot, they'd take it to the end of the table, they'd put it in a stack for the adjudication team to look for. Then the adjudication team would look at the physical ballot, figure out what was up and what the machine wasn't reading right, and adjudicate it. That was the process. Historically, in Maricopa County, and remember, everybody told you, he's just looking at adjudication. That's public information. He doesn't know what he's doing. Some bullshit college professor said who didn't understand. Well, historically, over an election in Maricopa, about 2 million people, you may have 15 boxes of ballots that need to be physically looked at. Remember that number, 15 boxes. Now let's jump to 2020. First off, you know what a box is. Inside the box is generally 8 batches of ballots. The boxes themselves are stacked on pallets. One pallet holds, we'll call it 45 boxes. One pallet. Okay? Now in Maricopa in 2020, when the ballot couldn't be read, it notified nobody. First time in history, notified nobody. Instead, the ballot went in, didn't tell anybody something was wrong with it, but the adjudication process was held at a remote building. And then at the remote building, it comes up on a screen and says, you got to look at this ballot. Now, you kind of saw that demo where the lady said, I can make anything happen I want. You saw that video. And that's how adjudication worked for the first time in history. It wasn't there. It wasn't physical. It was all virtual, and it was held at a different place. In Maricopa County, if they would have stayed with the standard procedure that happened every time before 2020, the outstacking process, which is what it's called, would have accumulated 2.5 pallets of boxes. There would have been about 120 boxes when the average might be 12, 13, 14. There would have been 120 boxes of evidence over there. Do you think somebody would have screamed, what the fuck's going on with the machines? But they hid it. They hid it. The average, 1 out of every 8 ballots was adjudicated in Maricopa County. 1 out of every 8. When they used to say, you get to 1 in 50, you change that machine out. Now that's how they pulled off the hiding of the suspension. It doesn't cancel your vote, doesn't change your vote. It suspends your vote. Now, if you can suspend the vote, you know what the vote is. You know how many ballots there are. They just haven't come down and been officially counted yet because somebody has to click the button. What do you end up knowing? You end up kind of getting a free look at what the election is really going on. Now, if you have that information because of adjudication, and you're a nefarious actor, what can you do? Now get ready. I'm about to smack you on the side of the head. And don't leave. You need to know this. If you have this information and you actually know, here's what's physical, here's what's still adjudicating, we're coming to the end of the election, you actually know the outcome. The technicality is you haven't counted it yet. Counting only means officially letting it come down. So you actually know what's going on, right? Still using Maricopa County, do you remember we need 10 extra days, first time in history, all these places, same thing. We need 10 extra days to count all the ballots. Do you remember that, Chet? Well, I'm going to go back. If you've been with me for a while, you know this. Just so you know, in Maricopa County, they use 10 tally machines running on an average 140,000 ballots a day. So we now know what a tally machine will do. 140,000 ballots a day, 10 machines will do it, each one, right? That's how many they got. 10 machines running. And when they have 10 machines running balls to the wall, they can do about 140,000 ballots a day. They told us they had all these 300,000 ballots to count. They need 10 extra days. Well, if you look at the dotted line in the center, that's election day. You look forward, and we're looking at those 10 extra days. They used 2 tally machines, not 10. One of them was about 89,000. One of them was 100,000. All the rest of them averaged to about 5,000. And several days they counted nothing. So what were they doing? Well, see, that number that they ran in should equate to how many they said they had left. It didn't. So what they need the 10 extra days for? That's right. Look on the right. So they could create the ballots to change it and put it in 30 fucking days after the election. And by the way, they still fucked up the number and they still missed it. They still were off 1,812 ballots. That's what the GOP refuses to show you because it's all about the ballot. And that's the only way you can get it. That's the only way you can see it. But the tabulator machines, the receipts says everything was perfect, and they have that number, a number that never existed. Now you know why President Trump was calling TULSI in Arizona, trying to get him not to certify, because they ran it in the day everything happens at the federal government to certify, and those ballots weren't there, and they rushed them in, 118,019. Oh, by the way, there's even more to it. But you got to understand how they create this inventory. How do they create the inventory? Well, they create the inventory by having all this slack in it. You can only see it, not by receipts, by physical ballots compared to realities. But
now they have been removed from this facility, out of our control. We don't know where they're being taken. We don't know what's going to happen to them. So we can no longer,
oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. If we don't have them, they're not safe. They're going to change them. They're going to manipulate them. Same tactic.
Now they have been removed from this facility, out of our control. We don't know where they're being taken. We don't know what's going to happen to them. So we can no longer, and I can no longer, as chair of this board, satisfy not only the citizens of Atlanta, but the citizens of the world that those ballots are still secure. So that is a major concern that I have right now. Again, my point is, once they were here, as long as they were here in the control of Fulton County, I was confident that they were safe and secure. And the other point I'd like to make, this goes back to the 2020 elections. For the life of me, I still cannot understand the fascination about the 2020 elections, which occurred 6 years ago. That election is over with. That election has been reviewed, it's been audited, and in every case, every instance, we get a clean bill of health. If there's anybody who knows what happened in 2020 on that night at State Farm Arena, it was Fulton County Commission Chairman Rob Pitts. I was there. So the fascination with this, I still don't understand it, but we'll have more to say later.
I just want to say that Fulton County Department of Registration and Elections is always and will continue to maintain fair, transparent, and accurate elections. And we will continue to do the work of the electorate here in Fulton County. The FBI is still in the building. We have fully complied. We will always comply with law enforcement and with the rule of law. And that's what we do here in Fulton County. And that's all I have to say.
How concerned are you, sir? How concerned are you voter information will be compromised? How concerned
are you that they can be compromised? What the fuck do you think they did in all these years that they've had them? But do you remember back me telling you in the audit in Arizona, I'm talking with Brnovich, who has now passed, by the way, AG of Arizona, and I'm showing them how many bullshit voters are at vacant lots. 2,000 people at a vacant lot address. We got tipped off this by the fine works, right, of Liz Harris. 2,000 people. It's a blank freaking field. Doesn't even have a mailbox. But those ballots somehow get gathered up and dropped off at an NGO several blocks away. Number one, forwarding that ballot's a crime. It's not allowed, but it's still done. We pointed these out, pointing out 7-Elevens with 12 registered voters at a 7-Eleven. 118 voters registered at a Mexican restaurant. Can't use business address. All of the conservative broadcasters told you forensic audit was bullshit. It was a con. Jovan's a grift. They didn't find anything. They didn't report anything. Here we are, 5+ years later. Finally, people on the ground are picking up on our work. Everything I've said, get your ass out and verify them. What are they finding? And here's the same people in charge in Fulton.
What you're doing is extremely dangerous.
Why is it dangerous?
Because you're spreading conspiracy theories.
It's not a conspiracy theory. Do you have $45? I'm not undermining. I'm not saying people are voting there. Ma'am, I'm not saying that people are voting there. I'm not saying people are voting there. I'm saying people are currently registered to vote there. We went around Fulton County the last few weeks and we see that people are currently registered to vote in places like empty lots, homeless shelters that closed 10 years ago. What would you do if you become Secretary of State to address that?
I'm not going to reply to conspiracy theories.
It's not conspiracy. It's a current. You can currently go on the voter rolls, purchase them for $45, and go there with us. We will gladly take you if you want to go to.
I appreciate what you're saying. I'm not going to respond to conspiracy theories.
How is that a conspiracy theory? It's an act of voter rolls. If you're going to be running for Secretary of State, you're in charge of maintaining the voter rolls. Don't you care about if people are registered to vote from empty lots?
Questions. I appreciate it. I've got to.
Do you think it's a conspiracy theory that people are registered to vote from empty lots, though? Well, I have the ability to go wherever I want to. People are currently registered to vote in empty lots, Commissioner. And if you're going to run for Secretary of State, aren't you going to at least take a look at that? It took me $45 to purchase the vote.
True the Vote wasted people's times by saying, look at the address. If you think it looks funky, put it on our list and we'll report it. Nothing fucking happens that way. Nothing. Get your ass out on the ground and confirm it's a vacant lot and document it the right way. You can force the county officials to remove them. Now, finally, people are waking up to the procedures that I've been telling you. And I'm telling you how you do this. And this was the discussion. I mean, this was the physical discussion that I'm sitting with President Trump. I'm sharing every bit of this, every single bit of this. And President Trump sitting there going, holy shit. At this time, I'm no longer sitting in front of him. I'm standing behind him at his desk and I am showing him the numbers. And I'm saying, President Trump, it's the voter rolls. The voter rolls are the ammos in the gun. And it's the voter rolls that enable the paper. You don't get the paper, you don't get the voter rolls. This fucking machine shit's a fucking waste. It's a misdemeanor. The ammo for the machine that is the voter rolls, which is, you got to be on the voter rolls to get the ballot. Behind me, so President Trump's here, Devin Nunes here, President Trump's staff. I hear, well, we're told that if we focus on the voter rolls, that it's just a waste of time. So I turned around like I did because I have nothing to lose. And I said, who in the hell told you that? I'm telling President Trump, if I had my druthers, President Trump, we've got to wipe the voter rolls. That means get rid of them. Everybody equally impugned, start over. We don't even know how many people write into them. Well, the reason that meeting in President Trump's office stalled is because one of the teams helping in Georgia, funded by Mike Lindell, and going around to all these cities, gave them this advice.
So you have a centralized statewide voter roll that's on networked machines, servers. It has a public-facing internet interface. That's it. That's all I need to know that it's blown. That's a centralized statewide voter roll that was mandated by Help America Vote Act. They have these all over the country. And it's not just that you have a public-facing internet interface to it, but multiple organizations have what's called an API, or an application programming interface. In other words, a machine-to-machine interface into that voter roll. And I'm telling you this because when people say, well, we have to clean up the voter rolls, it's true that they're not following the law. It's true that they're not in good faith maintaining them in accordance with Title 52 that requires that the voter rolls be both secure and accurate. That's a requirement imposed on the Secretaries of State who've received the Help America Voting Act and CARES Act funding to maintain those voting systems. What nobody's going to tell you, but I'm going to tell you, is you cannot clean those rolls. You're sweeping a dirt floor.
And so when you bought pillows and you funded for the Lindell, we had the Lindell Fund, the Lindell Conquest, the Lindell Crime Bureau, the Lindell I'm Mike Lindell and You're Not Fund. You paid for people to go around to 745 different locations. It's the machines. It's not the voter rolls. You can't tell anything by the ballots. It's the machines. You funded that, by the way. You funded that. This is how big this fight is. This is why I catch shit. When President Trump came out and did the GOP stuff saying, you got to bank your ballot, I immediately pushed back on President Trump and said, President Trump, banking ballot is early voting, mail-in voting, drop box voting. That's the only way you can bank it. You got to get it in advance. Of course, he stopped. But it's a war. It's a war at that highest level. Because the man is surrounded by a column that doesn't want to fix this. That column's called the GOP. Now you understand why I'm not on Bannon. Why I'm not in certain ones. Because the GOP picks up the phone and says, if you have Jovan on, we will not let our people talk with you or come on or continue to buy ads in your program. Doesn't that sound like some CNN liberal shit? But that's how it works. But I'm listening to an expert. They said they're an expert of a fluffity fractal pterodactyl expert. But what it did do is it sucked all the money out of the room to do what is right. I'm going to give you my final comment. You're going to want to stay around for them. I got to get a drink and rest my voice, but I'm going to give you my final 2-minute closing comment. You need to hear it. Be right back.
Not fixing 2020 will damn our nation forever. The historic Maricopa County full forensic audit effort processed 20,895,610 digital and forensic images of varying formats, resulted in 208 million individual evidence-proof files. The system processed over 58 billion forensic measurements, resulting in over 2 trillion individual base computations. No hopium, no hype, just hardcore forensic evidence. Please make sure the Maricopa County Full Forensic Audit Archives survive. Donate now. So if you want what happened in the 2020 election fixed, then please donate to protect and secure this historic evidence. We can't do it without you. We need you. America needs you. Our future needs you. Please donate now.
Okay, so let's talk about this. What went on in Georgia? What's going on now? Are we going to actually see what's up? I'm going to tell you the truth. I have a duty to myself to be truthful and transparent. I take my responsibility with you here as family and friends. I don't count you as clicks and views and likes and shit. We're family and friends fighting for our country. And if we don't fix this, we are doomed. Half-ass measures only prolong it, but they will get control. And we're so dangerously close now. Honestly, I can't tell you what's truly going to happen with the evidence in Fulton County because that hasn't been decided yet. There's so many things going on behind closed doors, which I actually cannot talk about. But there's so many fingers in the pot and in the pie. It's a challenge. It's an internal world. Let me give you an example. You heard people like Scott Pressler, and you think's a hero, go around the country telling people, you don't want to vote on election day, they might not have paper. Well, if they don't have paper, they've maladministered the election, and you fucking hope they do something as stupid as that, because then you have standing. But Scott Pressler went around, got to bank your ballot, got to bank your ballot, got to bank your ballot. And he's supposedly some election integrity expert. Well, his father's big in the GOP, and Scott was hired by the GOP, and I think we're finding out. I hear it's millions of dollars, maybe $12 million he was paid to give that message. And of course, he's just like the same guy, don't clean the voter rolls. Same event telling you, oh, election day, they'll run out of paper. Don't do that. Don't do that. You got to bank your vote. Bank your vote is early voting, drop boxing, and mail-in, because you got to get the ballot packet. That's the envelope with the ballot in advance. in advance. So in many ways, I'm just telling you, the GOP is just as rigged and rotten as the Dems. We get a full forensic audit in Arizona. We got multiple states lined up to do it. A full forensic audit where you see hardcore fucking facts like this. The same people that paid for all these experts to go on the road, our Cause for America, our Detective Bureau, whatever the shit it is, fucking told those states a full forensic audit is a waste of time. Canvass. If you find something, canvassing, then we'll do a full forensic audit. So people decided to canvass. By the way, where's your report? What happened? Oh, that's right. You don't have a report because all of the people that did the canvassing stuff made people sign do not disclose, do not talk. And that's why you or the public has never seen a report. But you fucking ate up a lot of time. Same people. Same stuff. Same people telling you it's the machines, knowing it's all voluntary, and at worst, somebody's going to get $1,000 fine, maybe a year in jail. Well, they'll fucking pay some schlup $10 million to sit their ass in jail for a year. Who cares? That's the rig. That's the rig. And I just got to tell you, everybody wants a hero. I want to let you know, I am not a fucking hero. I'm a technologist. I am only showing you as an investigator what I found. I can't fix it. You can fix it if you decide to. You can fix it. I can't fix it. All I can do is have the evidence. I can't bring the lawsuit. Like in Arizona, can I bring a lawsuit for this? I'd have no standing. Why? I'm not a fucking voter in Arizona. Doesn't fucking affect me. I'm an expert witness hired by the Senate to do a full forensic audit, which means I am the expert witness, must testify. You don't file the suit and testify as the expert witness, you're compromised. But the system doesn't want you to know this stuff. I have no problem calling it like it is, and I have no problem if I'm wrong, saying I'm wrong, but I'm telling you like it is. But how does America respond to this stuff? We respond to the same shit, different color. We know that news was fake and crap. We know it. And we continue to ignore this when it's right in front of our faces. That puzzles me. I have to tell you, that actually puzzles me. You can actually look at the evidence, but linear thinking logic has disappeared in your life. And that's how the system has trained Americans. Let me ask you a question. You know that ABC, NBC, CBS, MSNBC, CNN, they're all various different companies. And you know they all compete for the same ad dollars because they're different companies, right? You know that. Then answer this for me. I'm going to show you about 40 seconds. If they're all different companies, which means they all have different employees, which means they have all different news directors, why does this happen?
Extremely dangerous to our democracy.
This is 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 extremely dangerous to our...
I think you get the idea. All different companies, all different logos. How do they spit out the same shit? It's because, folks, nothing's real. Nothing. My confidence comes from our work in Maricopa, which is the only, from beginning to end, documentation, evidence, and a certified chain of custody kept to this day of everything that happened in the 2020 election. Nowhere else does this exist. And it's never been done at time. I personally looked over 2 million ballots, 189 million voted ovals. Nobody in history has ever done that. But that's what they stay away from. And it's because all of this is manipulated. Let me give you an example. You guys gave your heart out for the cyber symposium to see 3,000 counties, how everything was changed and done. And here it is. And you can come in and we're going to have the lawmakers here. You're going to have the lawmakers here. They can take the data home. They can verify it with the people. We're going to see how a switch went here, did this, order now, pay now, send me money now. And you did. Only thing that came from the cyber symposium is Tina Peters went to prison because there were no PCAPs. And you find out 3+ years later in court, Mike Lindell admits he never had them. Under sworn oath and testimony, he never had them. But you see how they do it, just like the TV host. We're a constitutional republic. We are not a democracy. But you see how they do it. It's words, repetition, TV. Words, repetition, TV. And so I sit here today. We're not healing ourselves, folks. Number one, I want to tell you, Mike Lindell has no chance of winning Minnesota. Minnesota, billions of the systems to Somalis. Do you think Mike Lindell, even if he was good, has a chance at winning Minnesota governorship? Just honestly. But on that, I got another question. If he will get on TV, take your money, and fucking lie to you that he had the PCAPs, but all of a sudden, no, it's a protected witness by the CIA, and all of that was bullshit. The only thing to show for his work is Tina Peters went to fucking prison, and all he told you was focus on the machines, get pissed at me, and leave. That shows how shallow you are. Focus on the machines. It's a misdemeanor. Never in history covered our work, ever. How do you trust that? Oh, Mike got gullible, got taken for people. Okay, let's put it in a governorship point. Do you want a governor that's gullible? Do you want a governor that can buy into an operation by the CIA and be controlled? It's a double-edged sword, baby. You can say, poor Mike, he was just conned by people. Okay, elect him governor. He'll be conned by even bigger people. Do you understand how this racket works? Even down to the GOP. You have all this data, you have all this stuff to show you. I can give you the names of the people that did it, when they signed and when they didn't. Do you ever see that on Bannon? No, because the GOP won't allow it. You got to go back to when President Trump ran. The GOP was terrified he'd run as an independent. They made a deal. We'll support you. We'll help you out, but you got to say you're GOP. And when they got him to agree to that, they have forever use of your likeness and name forever as GOP. Have they supported President Trump? Look at the rhinos that just voted for $1.7 billion of what Doge got rid of, and President Trump says we're giving it zero, but 23 rhinos made sure it happened and paid it. Folks, we're caught in a massive psychological warfare. But until we change our standards, our own standards, because we have no standards predominantly. Oh, they're wearing a cross. They must be a Christian. That means it's true. Or they're repeating it. That means it's true. That's the same shit we got from mainstream media. You just swapped. And then when you get told the truth, you actually fall into the same category as liberals. It hurts, and you get pissed, and you hate me. Think about that. Virginia, somebody just mentioned in the chat, Virginia just put in an AG that said Republicans and their children should be killed. The entire system is broken. And what it takes to fix is people to wake up and have high standards. If you're following the people that said the full forensic audit in Arizona was a grift, you have been conned and you've sold your soul. Why would you back anything where the rules are voluntary? Did you even know that all the election rules for the machines and software are voluntary with no enforcement? Why would you back melting the machines to prison bars? A machine is just like a gun. That fucking gun doesn't shoot unless you got ammo and you got a bad person behind it. It's not the gun's fault. And you accept that when you're battling liberals, but when you're battling conservatives, oh, that gun can shoot, because you won't take out the bullets. You won't recognize its people, paper, and programs, and you fall for the same con and the same con and the same con because you treat all of this like it's a popularity contest. No, it's the survival of fucking America contest. Either America survives or it doesn't. And that affects every Christian, every Jew, every Muslim, every Catholic, every Baptist, every atheist, every gay person, every brown person, every right person, every left person, every person who doesn't give a fuck. It affects us all because that's all that's left. Those are the only two sides. You got to do some soul searching because it's funny. You can have the evidence in front of you and so many people will not support it to make sure it survives because you'd rather fucking put your money in a pillow or buy the next little cross trinket versus making sure the most important evidence in history survives. So we can finally fix all of this. My job's only to show you. I give you the taste of the background. I'm not just a commentator. I'm right in the fucking middle of it. I'm not somebody who just quit Taco Bell to become a political commentator like other people you follow. This is it. This is real fucking life, baby. And we're going to lose our country if we don't collectively learn how to fight this. Share this program because it's a fight for your life.
Our courts are based on clear and convincing evidence. Want convictions? Want justice? For what happened in the 2020 election? Then we need your help. Not fixing 2020 will damn our nation forever. The decision you make in the next few moments could decide whether we ever get our elections fixed or not. Here's why. Trump campaign and allies filed 64 different lawsuits. They all went down in flames. 100% of these cases were presented on "It's the machines," or "The machines changed the votes," or "The voting company executive said he would make sure Donald J. Trump would not win." They all went down in flames. Why? You can't bring theories to court as evidence. No supposed Zoom call or six-degree polynomial math theory or census data is or ever will be proof of fraud. You can't bring theories to court as evidence. Here's why. In both civil and criminal law, the side making a claim carries the burden of proof, and prosecutors must prove guilt beyond a reasonable doubt. Without physical or otherwise verifiable evidence, a case cannot meet this high threshold. Physical evidence is the key. The question is, did anyone get relevant, reliable, provable, testable, and duplicatable evidence of what really happened in the 2020 general election? And the answer is yes, absolutely. The full forensic audit of Maricopa County, Arizona is the only evidence-gathering work which gathered relevant, reliable, provable, testable, and duplicatable evidence of what really happened in the 2020 general election. Evidence so damning that the system, the deep state, and those who pull the strings of this country have fought to keep it hidden and have hoped to have it be forgotten to time. Almost $3 million invested in time, funds, and efforts to unlock that which the system wanted hidden. But now, that evidence is in danger of being lost forever. So if you want what happened in the 2020 election fixed, then we need your help. Please donate to protect and secure this historic evidence. With the 2026 midterms coming up, the system is going to try to lame duck President Trump and then most likely introduce new impeachment proceedings. This is the evidence which will help win the war which is surely to come. We need to keep Maricopa County full forensic investigation and archive secure and ongoing. So if you want what happened in the 2020 election fixed, then we need your help. Please donate to protect and secure this historic evidence. We need your help securing the full forensic audit archives. Don't allow the only testable, objective, and reliable 2020 election evidence fall into obscurity. Millions were spent on getting it documented and tested. This is historic evidence. Not fixing 2020 will damn our nation forever. The historic Maricopa County full forensic audit effort processed 20,895,610 digital and forensic images of varying formats, resulted in 208 million individual evidence-proof files. The system processed over 58 billion forensic measurements, resulting in over 2 trillion individual base computations. No hopium, no hype, just hardcore forensic evidence. Please make sure the Maricopa County full forensic audit archives survive. Donate now. So if you want what happened in the 2020 election fixed, then please donate to protect and secure this historic evidence. We can't do it without you. We need you. America needs you. Our future needs you. Please donate now. Not fixing 2020 will damn our nation forever. Please donate now.